Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you all for joining us today in this live stream event. My name is Albina, and I'm the program manager of the Microsoft Reactor San Francisco. I will be sharing session resources with you in the chat, but before we begin, I would like to quickly review two items with you: our code of conduct and our event guidelines. First, please take a moment to review our code of conduct. Microsoft Reactor seeks to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. We do encourage engagement in the chat, but please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional and on topic. And secondly, our event guidelines. This session is being recorded and will be available on demand through the Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel in about 24 to 48 hours. Which brings us to today's session: create and deploy your own custom website from your browser with GitHub Codespaces. This session will run for approximately 60 minutes, and I'm going to bring up our speakers for today, Sara Gibbons and Julia Muiruri. Hello, take it away, please.
Excellent. Hey, Albina, thank you so much for the intro. Hi, everyone. I'm Sara Gibbons. I'm a cloud advocate here at Microsoft. I get to focus a lot on what we call audience advocacy, which is all our communities and students in particular, which is a lot of fun. And I'm here today. I guess too, I'll share. I'm in the US, in Michigan, and I'm super excited today. Julie is on my team with me. She's amazing. And she's in a different country, so we're all international today. But Julia, please introduce yourself and then share with everyone what we're going to be working on.
Yeah, thanks, Sara. So hi, everyone. As you've heard, my name is Julia Muiruri, and I love to go after Sarah's introduction because she sort of just covers what our team does. So yeah, I'm joining from Nairobi, Kenya, and I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to this session. So just a little bit about myself. I don't know, Sarah, if you know, but today is actually my first year anniversary at Microsoft. So I joined Microsoft last year today. So I'm really excited to actually have this stream today. And so for everyone who's joining, I'm looking forward to an interactive session and just a little bit about what we're going to cover today. So as you read on the session title, we actually want to do this workshop with you. So we want you to follow along. I want you to build this incredible portfolio site that I'm actually going to show you in the next minute. So as you can see on my screen, I have this lovely site. It's very simple. I have this lovely site. It's already deployed on GitHub Pages. And as you can see, it's just a short portfolio site showing my current role. It has a short about section at the bottom where I've listed like a brief description of what I do, some bullet points around the skill sets that I currently have. And then I have a portfolio section that has some of the blogs that I've written, some of the resources that I've created. And if I click on this, you can see that I can also access some of these resources from other parties. And then you can also have, you can also see a contact section at the very bottom. So what really excites me about this is the fact that it only took me 15 minutes to actually put this together. And I think that's very fascinating. And I'm looking forward to this session where Sara is actually going to do a step-by-step demo on how you can also have a similar portfolio site running in no time. So I know it's a very simple site, but what is very exciting is the fact that you can do this in an incredibly short amount of time. And so Sara, I don't know if you'd want to share your screen and just sort of take us through how we can also use Copilot to run such a project.
Yes. First of all, Julia, congrats, 1 year. That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And that 15 minutes, I love that you shared that it took you 15 minutes to get that going, because I think that's one of the goals of this template repos that I really like, is it's built to be useful for any level of experience you have and meant to be easy. So I love that you shared that it took you 15 minutes and then you had a site up. That's very cool. So to share with everyone, yep, here's my sharing my screen here. So I'm logged into, I'll just tell you where I'm at right now. I'm logged into GitHub, and this is a student account that I use just for testing and making sure things work. I want to ensure that everything that we're showing you today can work with a very basic account. This one in particular has been validated as a student. So I've got all the standard things you get with the student developer pack from GitHub. I've also gone ahead and logged into Azure. Let's go back to the portal home. So this is just my Azure account. This is a student account. So this is all free things that I get with my Azure for Student. So all that Julie and I are going to show you here today is all available pretty much for free. I think, right, Julia? I think even if you're not a student, I think everything we're showing is on the free tier. Is that right?
Yep, absolutely free. So anyone can just jump right in and do the project.
Yes, awesome.
Yep.
And we've got, all right, so the other tab I've got open here, this is our Codespaces template repo. So this is the code behind what Julia showed. And this is a template repo, which basically means that you can easily take this and create your own repo from it. If you scroll down a little bit here, it gives you a lot of great information. We've got it in Spanish and Portuguese, the instructions. I love this here too. How much experience do you need is 0. So I love that it calls that out. Tools needed, none. So we're going to be using Codespaces today. So there's no installs, and prerequisites is none. So like Julie, I think mentioned, right? You don't need to install anything. You don't need to have anything more than a GitHub account. You can even deploy this to GitHub Pages. We're going to try and go to Static Web Apps today just because we both love it. It's so fun to work with. And then, yeah, this is kind of like Julia showed you. We got some steps here. So anything in the README, Julia, while I got my screen up that you want to kind of call out before we get started?
Yeah, absolutely. So one more thing that I need to mention is the fact that you can actually do this on a tablet or on your phone is just so amazing that you can just run a code space on whatever device you're working on. So if you don't have like VS Code installed, that's nothing to worry about. We'll actually do all these on the browser. So I'm really, really excited to see that. So the other thing is, if you also want to follow along and deploy this on Azure, we can definitely sign up for the Azure for Students benefit. So we'll also drop a link on the chat. Hopefully you have the benefit activated. If not, you can do it in a few minutes just before we get started with the project. But yeah, I think with that, Sarah, we can just get straight into it.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, so I've got some getting started here just to show everyone. So we're going to follow along here. Create your portfolio. So it tells us to create a repository from this template. I'm going to create this repo link. So this is going to, let's see if we can get this going. I'll just open that in a new tab. It's going to create a repository from the Codespaces template. So it's basically just going to create our own version of this, but in our account. So for me, this is my account that I have, and I get to give it a name. So I'm going to call it my portfolio, and I'll make this public because we're just going to, act as if like I've got cool stuff that I want to share, and I want to, I think we've heard some people talk about how they use this for internships or different things. So let's just make it public. Well, all we need to do now is create a repository. So that's going to take our template repo that we just looked at, and now we're in under my test account. And this gives my portfolio, which is the name of the repository I gave it. And there we go. So now I've got my own version of this. So I think, Julia, it's time for our Codespaces. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm really, really excited. And so just to pause there, I think the fact that you use that template, that means that it created all the files that I need for this project in your own GitHub account. Is that right?
Yes. Yep. So whatever changes you make will just be in your account. And then you can personalize it and deploy it however you like.
Cool. Awesome. Excited.
All right. So cool thing. I'm not sure, and I'm terrible about watching chat too. I get so excited about what we're speaking about. So Julie, if you see anything and we need to stop and ask questions. But I'm not curious how many of those watching have experienced Codespaces or worked with Codespaces on GitHub. But it's a free offering. And like Julie mentioned, it's browser-based. So you can work with a project, you basically could get VS Code in your browser through a Codespace, and it gives you a development environment, which is in a virtual machine. So you get compute and you get resources and all kinds of cool things. So what I'm going to do here is go to code. I'm going to go local. It's kind of what you may be used to if you worked with GitHub a lot, but now we've got Codespaces here. So I don't have a Codespace running now, but this template repo is all set up to have Codespaces for us. So I'm going to say create a Codespace on main. What's going to happen here is it's going to give us that it's setting up our Codespace. We're going to see that it's creating the container. So this is just creating the container in the virtual machine, and it's pulling in the configuration that we have from the template repo. So it will give us all of our extensions, all of like spinning up the project. I'm trying to think, Julie. It feels like it does all this magic behind the scenes, right?
Yeah, very instant. So how I also like to see it is the fact that if you're working in a dev team, you don't really have to worry about the time you need to spend to set up. So you can actually have like an admin just set up the entire project. If you need specific extensions for your project, you can actually do that. And I don't know, Sarah, if you saw this cool announcement that you can also now define the secrets that are needed to run a project so that your whole team can just come in and just get quickly started with the project without having to worry about the configuration bit of it. So I think it's really, really interesting to see that a whole container will just spin up with the environment that you need to just start writing your code.
Yes, great point, Julia. I didn't know about the secrets. That's very cool because it's pretty powerful that, you know, we are fortunate we get to work together as the same team. So if we had a coding project, right, we could have the identical environment without having to worry about setups and versions and the secrets. We need to find a way to play with that because that would be fun.
Yeah, very awesome. Cool. Look what we have here. I'm looking at a screen that looks like VS Code. I don't know if you want to talk us through what we are seeing currently.
Yes, so exactly right. So underneath kind of what's driving this is VS Code, right? So we've got what may look familiar to a lot of us, our sidebar here. Here's our Explorer. Here's where we can see kind of our editor and then our terminal here at the bottom. So it should have a lot of things that we're familiar with for those of you that have worked with VS Code locally before. But now that what's happening here is I'm just going to let it do its thing. This project is set up to start the portfolio application automatically. So I didn't do anything. And as soon as I started up my Codespace, we could see down here in terminal that it was doing some things for us automatically. One of them was npm install. So for those that, 504, I wonder what happened here. We'll look at that in a second. So for those that are familiar with Node, Node's just different packages that you can use for a JavaScript project. This one is React. So it installed all of our Node packages for us. It did npm start, and you don't even have to worry about this. If something familiar with it, it's just doing it for you, just sharing some information, and then it starts the site up on our Codespace. But for us, we got a 504. So let's see what's going on here. I'm going to go over to ports. And on ports, it just shows us what sites are running in our Codespace. And it looks like our site is running, so it did start it automatically for us. But it gave us that error there. It might just be a timing issue.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. So it did. I opened it up in a new tab, and that worked. So I'm going to go back over here, and let's just see if we can refresh it. Oh, got it. Some live debugging there, right, Julia?
Yeah. I was a bit worried there for a second, but you got this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So we can look down here while we have ports open. Tells us that our visibility is private. So right, if I were to share this link with Julia, she would, I don't know if she would be able to see it. I don't believe so because it's just in our Codespace.
Yeah.
And so then we have our site running. So this looks very similar to what Julia showed you. This gives us some base information that we can work off to build our site. So for each of you that are following along, once this gets to this point, now you're ready to dive in. So Julia, where should we start?
Man, I'm just still fascinated by the fact that you just clicked open in a code space, and right now we have everything. We have all the files, it already installed what we needed. So I'm just really blown by all that. So I think we can just start customizing the site. So right now I can see it shows that this is Alexandri's site. Probably we can change it to read Sara Gibbons, because I feel like this is a site you'd want to have your information on. So everyone who's following along, I believe this is where we can now update the information on the site and get our details, just added on there.
Yes, great starting point. So I'm going to change this up a little bit, give us some more space to see everything. So all I'm doing is just doing some fun stuff that VS Code lets you do. I just shrunk this a little bit so we can see the README and we can see our preview here. I think too, I'm trying to remember. Here we go. Customize your site in 3 steps. So I think this is what you were talking about, Julia, right? Here's the name, and it tells us which file we need to go to. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. Source app.jsx.
Yeah. Sarah, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. So just before we do that, I was thinking, would it be possible to just walk through the files that we currently have? So let's see how we've structured the whole project so that everyone knows where to go to make a certain change. Then we can start putting in our details.
Great point, Julia. Thank you for mentioning that. Yes. So this is a React project. What we have here is if we look in, let me minimize this. If we look, I have .dev container. So in .dev container is dev container JSON. This basically is just telling Codespaces what to do when it starts up, what extensions to install, how to open the site, things like that. These two that are kind of, I guess we have a few here. This partial, this node modules, these are all like behind the scene things that you don't need to worry about. These are things that Node is using to get the packages installed, to run the site, just happening automatically for you. Source we have here, which is where all of our site pieces live. So when a React site renders, it starts with index.html. I'll give you a little quick tour, which calls our index JavaScript, which loads our, no, we don't want to move that. It loads our app file. So it kind of goes like when it loads the site, it goes to this one, to this one, to this one. If anybody wants to kind of follow along with that, that's in there too. And then I'm trying to look at the list here. We've just got some other things here to call out. ESLint, Prettier. These are just some formatting tools for code consistency, quality. Very basic here. It just kind of gives us, let's see here. I think line length maybe, just different formatting, stuff you may see in other projects as you start to work. So they're included here as well. Oh, and I missed package JSON. This just tells Node which packages to install. Nothing for you to worry about or change here, just to give you a little tour. Did I miss anything, Julia?
Nope, I think you pretty much covered everything. We can now start customizing our site.
Yes, great point to look at that. Yeah, so app.jsx is in our source file. We have it right here. If we look down, it has site props. And this is where we've got name, our title, things like that. So it does give some information up above that we can, this object represents your information. Update the values below. All right, so let's just go for it. So I'm going to change this to Sara Gibbons, and let's see if it's going to refresh the site for us. Sometimes we can get the timing right where it'll see it over here. But if I refresh it, it would probably see it. There we go. So just by changing that name, now we've already started customizing.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think, Julie? Should we just do some more, keep going down this list of information?
Yeah, sounds good. Probably the title would want to change that.
Yes. I always like to think of a fun title. but I always get like tripped up. So then I always go back to my other one. Let's go. Oh, look at Julia.
Wow.
We forgot to mention Copilot is already in here.
I don't know how we forgot about that, but this is just amazing. Look at that, guys. This is just awesome.
So, yeah, it's like spoiler alert. Julia and I want to talk about Copilot too, but it's already auto-completing things for us. So this is so cool. It already knew.
Yeah.
It had some context about what we're doing. It's already suggesting software engineer. So I don't have to think of a fun, cool title. I'm just going to go with that one.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask if Copilot knows that you've done engineering before and that you actually want a software engineer for it to propose that.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. You're right. I have done a lot of software engineering work that's all been in GitHub. So maybe I wonder, did it see my name and pick that up? Because I've seen it do that before. Or is it just, well, now we've got to test this.
Very smart.
If I put a W, web developer, oh my gosh. Julia, I feel so seen.
Yeah, I mean, just think of it and then Copilot just does it for you. I mean, this is just incredible.
Yes. It's so fun to work with this. Now slow me down, Julia. I'm going to get carried away like getting things updated. I wonder if it would say, oh, by the way, I just changed this to web developer. We started getting our timing in order and it got web developer over here in our preview. So that's pretty cool. I'm just going to say Sara example. I'm just going to fill this out a little bit. GitHub, maybe let's see. Let's see if GitHub Copilot knows me. Sara, no. It's close. Oh, it's getting there.
Yeah.
So to show, since we can't see as I'm typing, all I'm typing is going to say, Sara, I see that it's kind of giving me this ghosted text here of A. So I'm going to do a tab to autocomplete that. If I go back and type a G, it gives me that. And I'm just tabbing to autocomplete. I'm actually Sara Gibby, so I'll just put that in there. And then I don't remember what I am on all the rest of these, but we're just going to go as Sara Gibby because that's usually what I pick if I can. There we go. All right, so Julia, I've got all my information here. I see my name. I see my title.
Yeah.
Where do we go next?
So could you just scroll and see if the contact footer was actually updated? Could you see if it now says that this has been created by Sara on the site?
Oh, yes.
Let's see. Wow.
Oh, good catch.
Awesome. Yeah, I really love how you're doing this in a matter of seconds. So it's very exciting that now this site looks and feels like yours. So probably we can change something on the about section. Could you maybe add your skills there?
Yes. So let's go over, I think let's go back to the README just for everybody who wants to follow along with that as well. So we've gotten site props. I think we've got update images here, which is going to take us right to what Julia's guiding us to is the about. Now, I just realized, Julia, I don't know if I have an image ready for our demo.
Well, it's fine. If we don't have one ready, we can just use the one we found there. But I think everyone else who's following can just pick up one image that they want to add on their site and just kind of change the image there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I also just realized, sorry, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that they would just need to go to the image folder in the source folder, and then that's where you would add the image that you want to be used on the site. So yeah, I think everyone else can do that. But for you, let's just move forward and proceed with the image that you already have.
Yes, and I think I probably have images locally, but they're probably just animated GIFs, and I don't know if they're actual photos to use for the site, admittedly. And I did notice too, I got a little carried away and I went to about, but we should probably maybe stop and look at home first. I don't know if there's anything here. Home is this right here. So first image here, it talks about, it gives you the sample one. It gives image alt text, so you can have that updated as well for your image. just to share with everybody, this is where if I was ready, I have a new image we could put in here. I don't know if I have a cool image like Julia, but you could update this image to whatever you want that represents you, and it would show as the background here. And then it's got name and title here, like we kind of saw. It's just pulling in from the site props. But I just wanted to share that with everyone. That's in home. So that's probably another step as you kind of customize your site and are much better prepared than me and have your image. There you go.
Yeah.
But yes, Julie, we were looking at about.
Yep.
So that's this section here. Is that right?
Yep. I know you didn't have a photo ready, but I'm sure you have a one-sentence brief about you that you have ready.
I do. And I'm actually wondering what Copilot might say as well.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how that goes as well.
Yes. So here we go. It says description here. I am a UX student. So I'm going to take this text out. I'm going to say come on, Copilot. A web developer. Oh my gosh, this is so fun.
This is awesome.
Web developer. Okay, let's see. I was waiting to see if it would refresh on its own, but I'm going to refresh it. And we'll go to about. They'll look at that. I'm a web developer with a background in UI UX design.
Yeah,
See, I'm not going to type it, Julia. I'm just going to let Copilot do it.
I think it got that you've done a little bit of UI UX because of how the site kind of feels. It's simple, but it really looks very nice. So I thought that, hey, this person must have done something on UI UX. So it's really awesome. Yeah, so it's a very interesting suggestion there from Copilot.
Yes. And then we've got here our skills list, which is right down here. I've tried to make my screen bigger, which is smushing the text a little bit, but I'm just going to delete this. And again, oh my gosh, look at, I'm going to, Copilot is just suggesting to us what we want. I'm going to go ahead and tab to complete that. And I'm going to hit enter and just let it I'm going to go through here a little bit, Julia, and I'm just going to let it suggest a few things. These all sound great. Express, yes. Mongo, I don't know about Mongo, but let's say Azure. Well, get anything for Azure DevOps? Perfect. I feel like that's kind of it's like a good skills list. And you can see too, I didn't show it very well, but look at here, it suggests Git. So I'm going to nudge Copilot a little bit over here. I'm just going to say, I want Azure, and I'm going to say SQL. So I'm just kind of nudging it by giving it a little suggestion. And when it gives me that ghost text, I'm going to tab and autocomplete it. But I'll stop here, Julie. I get carried away with Copilot because it is so much fun.
Yeah,
but
this is awesome.
This is their skills list. Yeah.
I'm happy that it was able to detect that we're actually working on a React project. So it just kind of gave you the whole list, and it also kind of suggested other services that we are yet to be using on this project. So I think Copilot is a very, very good coding buddy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Very exciting.
And I think our next line here is this right here, our detail or quote. So this just gives you an option to put any additional information you'd like to about yourself. So, oh my gosh, it already did it. I am passionate about solving problems and creative ways to drive innovation. Oh my gosh, well, this sounds perfect. Because this sounds very neat as well.
It's very true from how I know you, so.
Yeah. Yes, okay. This is perfect, and I'm totally GitHub Copilot just knows me. So, I got my about here. I've got my skills, and I've got my quote here. So I think that's it for this section. Yep. Did I miss anything, Julia?
No. We're done with the about section now.
Great.
Yeah. Nice. So I think next up it's the portfolio section. So let's now add some of the cool stuff you've done before. I know the list is long, so.
This is great. Yes, thank you. You're all right. This is our next stop. And here we go, our portfolio section. Now, one thing that I love that this project is simple in terms of, it's easy to get started. You can see here on my smushed screen here, there is some responsiveness for different devices that hasn't been baked in yet. But I kind of think that's cool because I feel like that's an opportunity for you to get familiar with this and then start to dive into what Copilot can do since it's available and use it kind of to learn how to do those things. So for now, we're just going to ignore the styling over here and we're just going to get our content in.
Sounds good.
Perfect. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to delete. We need title, description, and URL. I'm just going to go ahead and delete this whole list. And I'm going to just start creating new ones. Oh, there we go. You can see it emptied out. It's following along with me. I'll say title. I'm going to keep, I think web dev for beginners was already in here before. And I'm going to just add that back because it is one project that Julie and I get to help support. And I just think it's a lot of fun. And I'm going to see, look, I'm barely doing anything. And Copilot is just picking up all the pieces for us. So the reason that we got an error there is because I was just in the middle of typing as it was trying to refresh. But if we go down, we've got web dev for beginners. And we can see that the title links. If I open this up in a new tab, there we go. There's our web dev for beginners project, Julia.
Ah, so nice, so cool, so cool. So just one question. I did notice that you actually deleted everything we had in the list, and Copilot kind of suggested all the properties that you had before. So it brought up title, it brought up description, it brought up URL. So how does that work?
Oh, this is a good question, and I probably would not do it justice, but I know that Copilot is aware of context and it's aware of properties. So when you get deeper into, I can speak about React specifically and TypeScript. When you get more in there, Copilot is kind of aware of your project and what values are needed to render which components. It's gotten really good and really smart about it. So my guess is that it knows that our project list is down here. Let's see if we can find it down here where we're looping through the projects to display these boxes. And I wouldn't be surprised if it picked up from that it needs right here, project title, project URL. So it probably just learned from how it's being rendered what we need in our list and just kind of guided us that way. That's my best guess about the magic of Copilot.
Yeah, and I would say you really put it very well. And that's actually what I love about Copilot. It's not just a smart AI that knows how to program, but is actually learning the context of the project itself. So it's able to actually put in the context and follow along in exactly what you're trying to accomplish in your solution. So yeah, I'm excited to see that.
Awesome. Well put. All right. So I'm going to add, I'll just add one more, and I'm just going to, again, because I know we only have so much time with everyone, I'm just going to let Copilot autocomplete a couple of things here, just so we have more in here. This is all, I wonder too, Julie, it must be picking up because I said Azure. So now look, it's giving me Azure things.
Oh, that could be the reason. It's awesome. That's so cool.
Yes. Description. I'm just going to let's see, how many do we have here? 3. I think that's probably, is that enough for us, Julie? I want to make sure we have enough time to deploy and do the other cool things. What do you think?
Yeah, so before that, just one question. Out of curiosity, is Copilot picking up the right links?
Oh, let's see that. So web dev for beginners, I know is correct. This is a good, let's see. App Innovation Workshop. Let's go see what this is. Oh, I don't know. You're right. It picked up something from the world where this link was correct. This one over here, our Azure tips and tricks. Oh, same as well. Something's up with those links. So that's a good call, Julia. So as you're letting Copilot complete things for you, need to verify, right?
Yep, absolutely. So I think that also kind of clarifies that the developer is still in charge. So you still need to look at your code and just look at the solution that it suggested before you accept it, verify that everything is okay. So yeah, I think that's a good catch. But yeah, I think that's sort of enough. Probably we can have one more just to have a balance on the portfolio section.
Yes, good point. Let's
Yep.
do another one. I'm gonna nudge Copilot again. And I'm going to say Azure. Well, this is I was going to say Azure for Students. That's another one I like to share with everyone. But how about we do data? I'm trying to think of data science for beginners. I think is another fun curriculum we have. Let's see if it picks this up. 12-hour course to teach. Let's see which one. AKA MS. This might be the right one. Data science for beginners is just another open source curriculum that we have. That's on the broader team for Julie and I, and it's just really cool. So let's see if that link was correct, because now I'm curious. That one worked.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But I like, Julie, that you called out the fact of, right, to think of Copilot as your pair programmer, right? Like you still need to read it and check it and make sure everything works. That's a really good call out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I think we kind of have something good there. So what do you think about getting straight to deploying this? Let's see if we can actually have this accessible. So currently we can't really access the version that you're seeing. So if you share the deployed version on your code space, I'm pretty sure that we won't be able to access your site. But I know the goal is that for everyone watching, you want to build something and actually share it out, have people visit your site. So let's kind of get into how we deploy this. And Sarah, just one question for you. Is it possible to actually deploy this site without having to leave this one screen? So can we do everything from this code space without having to go to a different service?
It is. Great question, Julia. And you can. That's one cool thing about being in Codespaces here is, and with this template repo, is we've made it super simple for you to be able to deploy without leaving. We don't want you to have to go and configure other things. So we have two options for deploy that are both free, and you can complete both without leaving your code space. So I was going to go for Azure Static Web Apps, Julia. What do we think?
Yeah, sounds like a plan. Let's do that. Let's see how that is. And I'm sure everyone following would also be curious to see how you can get your project on Azure. So yeah, let's try that.
Cool. So all I've done so far is I have a tab open here to Portal. Not that you have to do that. I just did that because it's going to do some authentication. So let me go right here. I'm going to go back into my code space. I'm going to click on my Azure. It just loaded this extension for me. And I already have an Azure account, so I'm going to sign into that one. It just says it wants to sign in using Microsoft. Yep, let's allow that. There we go. There's my student Azure account. I can close this window. Perfect. And I come back in here. You see select subscriptions. And it did not pick up my subscriptions on this one. So one thing that if you see this, Julie, I think we're going to try this because Julie and I are tracking this one down. One thing that we've seen with this is if you stop and start your code space, sometimes it works. So we'll do a little bit more live debugging here. I'm going to go to a command prompt, and I'm going to say code space. Can I stop it from here? No. Maybe I just have to exit out. I'm going to go back to my GitHub. I'm back to my repo with my changes. And I'm just going to say, go back here to Codespaces. Oh, it's getting my list here.
Here.
I think, let's see if I refresh this. All right. Oh, look, I like this too. Uncommitted changes.
Yeah.
So that's one thing too, I think, yeah. I don't know if we mentioned, right? It saved my changes, right, Julia?
Yeah, that's awesome, because if you actually, let's say you lost power and you're using a desktop, so that means if you accidentally just lose or close out your code space, you won't lose the changes that you made, but it's actually going to track the changes you made, and you can later on restart your code space, and commit to your repository. So that's pretty cool. And you can actually compare that to vscode.dev, where if you just close out vscode.dev, you kind of lose the changes that you had made, but with a code space, it actually tracks and saves the changes for you.
Yes, great point.
Yep.
So when I go here, I can see that I've got these uncommitted changes here. This is where we've gone through and made the updates to personalize it. So I'm going to try something here. If Julie, if you don't mind, because if I'm going to see if I can get us past this point, just because I want to test a little bit too, because I think we want to show how to get this deployed. So I'm going to say personalize my site. So what I'm going to do right now is I've got these changes in my code space, and I'm going to just commit them to my back to the repo. So I have those there, and I'll say commit. Oops, I always do this. I don't know about you, Julia, but I get so excited about committing and I type the message and I forget to stage the changes.
Yeah, it happens a lot, not just you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stage the changes now. There we go. Personalize my site. I will commit, and then I'm going to sync those changes. And all this is doing, it's going to push them to origin main, which is back to my repository that we created when we first started, and say, okay, sure, automatically run that. So now I don't have any pending changes in my code space. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back here. We're gonna experiment a little bit. So I'm gonna, now that I don't have any changes in my code space, it tells me here I've got no changes. I'm just gonna, let's just delete it. Actually, no, let's try and stop it first. Let's try and stop it, because I didn't do that before, because I wanted to talk about our changes that we had. Now, all I did was I stopped it from running, which is a good thing to do if you want to, like I like how you mentioned, Julia, like if I have my code space and I'm making changes and maybe I don't want to commit them, right? You think you can stop your code space and it will hold on to that, but it's not using your code space's hours. Do I have that right? You can stop it and it's not eating into your allocated hours you get each month. Is that right?
Yeah, I would say you're right on that. So I would actually put it as a best practice. So not just leaving code spaces running, because it's actually going to consume part of the offer that you have. So yeah, I would actually put it under best practices to kind of just stop it, or if you're done with a code space, actually just delete it, and you can always create a new code space whenever you want to work on your project again.
Yes. Excellent point. Best practice. So true. All right. So I've stopped this one. Let's see. I think if I just, I'm only going to keep this going. Let's see if I can fire it back up. So all I did there was I was just trying to see if I could get Azure to list out my subscriptions for me. That's why I just stopped it and started it back up. We'll see if it does that. And it all, again, you can see here it's setting up remote connections. So because we stopped it, it's kind of building that back up and starting everything. Whereas before, when we just closed it and reopened it, it was still there, kind of alive still. So we'll just give this a little bit. And then I think, Julie, if we don't see the subscriptions load up, because we need to do that to deploy to static web apps, for the sake of time, maybe we'll look at GitHub pages. What do you think?
Yeah, sounds like a plan. And maybe as we wait for this to set up, I see we have a question from King of Zamunda. So his question is, I think it's a pretty interesting question. Can't Copilot pick the links if you tell it that they are located at a certain directory? So I think it's a pretty interesting question. I don't know what you think of that.
Yes, I'm not sure. I've worked with Copilot where I've guided it or I've nudged it enough. So, I think if you start to take Copilot with a directory or where you want the link, it will go. Is this like a directory, I think, in the app? I'm wondering.
Yeah, within the project. So I know it works with, let's say, images. If you want to add an image, that it can actually suggest where the images are stored. So I'm not really sure about the links. So, but it's probably something that is quite exciting to just experiment more on.
Yes, and I think it may because I want to make sure we have time if we get into what I'm thinking, Julia, is if we create an education component, which I know is part of the template repo, I think it does automatically create a link to that section if I'm thinking of it right. I don't know if that would answer the question, but it could be fun to explore that a little bit.
Yeah, I think we can just do it in like 2 minutes, see how that goes.
Yes.
That's how fast it is working with Codespaces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, first, it's not picking up my subscriptions yet, and that's what we needed to do to get going here. So let's go back to our instructions, and we're going to look at. Here we go. I think this is. There we go. GitHub pages. Let's do this one just so we can, and we'll get to the.
Yep.
We can debug that a little bit later. That'll be fun to look at. All right. So GitHub pages. All right, so it gives me some instructions here. Open package JSON. So let's get that opened up. And Julie, it's been a while since I've done the deploy to GitHub pages, so you'll have to guide me along here too. It's been a minute.
No worries, no worries. Yeah. So yeah, I guess we just need to go to the package.json file. You can see already there. So I think everything is already added. So you just need to provide the link to your URL. So sorry, to your repository. So that's kind of where we'll pick it from.
Got it.
Yep.
B Gibbons 3. I'm just going to check that back on GitHub just to make sure. Yep, B Gibbons 3 is my right account. There's my portfolio site. And so then this needs to be, so I've got the account updated, and I'm assuming this needs to be my portfolio. Did I get that right, Julia?
Yep. So
great.
Let's just confirm the name of the repository again.
Here we go. This one.
Okay. Yeah, it looks good.
Great. And then we've got, so, all right, we did that homepage.
So the build.
Oh, this one, I missed that too. It says it right here. GitHub username, here we go. So this is, the repository name is up above. This one is, this is where it's going to deploy my pages to. I think this will be the link to my pages site once I get it deployed. Is that right, Julia?
Yep, yep. So that's where we'll actually visit to find your site.
Perfect.
Portfolio. And so on the homepage, Sarah, I don't know if you would want to remove the README at the end.
Good catch. Thank you.
Yep.
We got that updated. This looks good. Is there anything else that I need to do here?
So probably just commit the changes and see how that goes.
Yes. All right. So I'm going to stage my changes this time. Let's do that first. Deploy to GitHub pages. All right. And I'm going to sync those so it goes right back to my origin main, which is my main branch on my repository that we're working on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, it says commit and push. We did that. Let's see, open up a new terminal from the menu. The terminal, npm run deploy. All right, I'm just kind of breezing through here real quick. Because I think if we go back, and feel free to guide me along here, Julia.
Yep.
Go into settings and then pages. So what we're really setting up is a deployment here, right? So I think when we're saying this npm run deploy, we should see it here is what I'm thinking. But we haven't done that step yet. Is that right?
Yeah. I think that's the next step.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's see. We're going to open up a new terminal. So here we go. New terminal. Oh, it even gives me that. Look at it. It even has the keys here. Well, that was handy.
Yeah, I really love the instructions here. It's step by step, and it's very hard to miss something. So, yeah, this is a very good resource.
That's great. Yeah. Okay, so we're in a new terminal. npm run deploy. Look at that. So all we did was change those 2 lines in package.json, and it looks like it's what it did here is, let me make this a little bit bigger so we can look at it a little bit. What it did is build the site, and it looks like it published it to our GitHub pages. So let's go back. I'm not sure if we'll see it here. Let's check it out. I'm just refreshing. So I'm in the settings for my repository, and I can look and I can see now this is different. It's deploying the GitHub pages branch, which this updated just picked up and did for us based on the changes we make. So I think now, thought we could launch it here.
If we have an action running.
Yes. There we go. Thanks, Julia. Yes.
Yeah, it's still in progress, so it's likely once it's done, we'll be able to access the site in real time.
Oh my gosh. Done.
Yeah.
Oh my, let's see. Oh no, I opened the wrong thing. I got too excited.
Yeah, it is pretty exciting. Wow. Wow. This is great. Live demos work. True live demos actually work. This is awesome. Yep.
Excellent. So we've got our so just to recap a little bit, we created from the template repo to our own repository. We've customized the site with our personalized information, and now we've deployed it. So it is live to the world. Oh, I already closed it. So this is now publicly available to everyone. So all I have is, again, our free accounts that we've created, and voila, we have our site.
So everyone can actually go to this URL and will find your whole portfolio site there.
Yes.
This is pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Excellent. So I know we've got a little bit time here left with everyone, Julia. So now that we've got our site deployed, what should we share? What else should we share next?
So if you could go back to your site, just want to test something.
Yes.
So the home section, could you click that arrow that points to the bottom? Yeah. So I can see we don't have any functionality on that. So probably in the next few minutes, we can actually use Copilot to add some functionality to that scroll button. I don't know what you think of that.
I love that. Let's do it.
Awesome. Awesome.
All right. So just because I know the app a little bit, I know that we can kind of figure that out too. These go in order up here in this navigation of the sections below the page. So home, about, portfolio, those all relate to components that we see over here in this list. So this first one is home. So I'm going to go over into the home component and open that one up. And it looks like, Julia, here we go. I'm guessing this one right here, Arrow SVG image. So you're right. So it displays the image, but there is no functionality behind it.
Yeah.
So we should have this. What do you think we should do? What should we ask Copilot to send it, to link to?
Yeah, so it's actually interesting that I want us to see how Copilot can kind of tell what we're trying to do. So probably let's see the prompt that would actually use for Copilot to suggest something.
Oh, yes. So and tell me if I'm following along with you, right? Are you using like a prompt like this, like link image to about section, something like that?
Mm-hmm. Let's see how that goes.
Okay. Oh. Wouldn't let me tab complete that. Let's see if I can do it again. Oh, look, I'm tabbing, but it's just inventing it. Let's clean that up a little bit. Oh, it did it for me, and I just. Oh, I am having a heck of a time getting that to complete. All right, if I can't tab, Julia, is there a way that I can accept that auto completion?
Yeah, so I'm actually thinking of a different idea that's just adding it on the CSS file. Start from there.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, save me from a tab problem. All right, so we'll go to this. I'm just going to clean this up a little bit. Okay, let's go to the CSS and start there. That is a great point.
Yep.
All right. So we're looking for that same image in our styles.
Yep. So,
actually, I think that. Oh, this is social icon. I think this one. Look, it has the styles in it. So that was another thing as you work with this project, you'll see the styles, which again I think is kind of a cool thing. Some of the styles are mixed in line and some are in the styles file. But I think that's again like a learning opportunity. So as you get familiar, you could play around with, do you want styles in line or do you want them in the styles file? So for this one right here, it looks like the styles for this arrow are just right here in line.
yeah, that's a good call out, Sarah. Yep.
But you know what we can do, and I think maybe now I'm thinking back to with the instructions in the README, I think we can make this arrow bounce, if I remember right. So maybe that would be a fun thing that we can do. And then we'll see if we can get that to have like an action, right? We want to be able to, maybe we can make it do something as well as be a little bit more like animated. How's that sound?
Yeah, sounds good. So we can just scroll up just before. Yep.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Is this
Right there?
This one? Got it. Okay. Oh, yeah, this is a good one. Oh, there's so many fun things in here to do, Julia.
We only have a few minutes remaining, so I think
right.
We'll have to do this later as well. But yeah, let's see if we can actually get that.
Let's go. So this first one right here that I forgot about was when you click these, it just kind of jumps around. So a first real one that we can easily add on is, I'm just going to give this a prompt and say add smooth scroll. And I'm just going to let Copilot pick up on that prompt, and there it goes. It says, let's change your scroll behavior to smooth. And I think this is so cool too, because I don't know about you, Julia, but I'm not the best at CSS because I always forget it. So I love the fact that we can prompt it and it's like, there you go. Now, I think if we go, let me refresh this. And then I think if we go to about, oh, it's not smooth scrolling for us yet, but that's the way that you can add that in. And I know with just a couple minutes, I think we can say add animation to bounce indefinitely. This is me not really knowing CSS that well, but seeing if Copilot will help me. There we go. It says here's how to do an animation. So I think this is cool too, Julia, because this is stuff I forget, and it's always fun to have little things on the site that work. But now,
sorry,
go ahead.
Sorry, I'm also just excited about this because how I look at it is that Copilot can actually help you be more creative with your project. So if you had not really thought of doing something extra, Copilot is sort of there just to tell you that, hey, you can actually go an extra step and do something really cool. So it's really interesting seeing that it suggested the entire block for you there based on a comment.
Yes. And I think just, I know we are kind of at time though, but there's more instructions here that say, now that we've added our animation, like this is just an example of a slide animation. Once you have that, then it gives you guidance here on how you can add it to whatever component you're working with. So right here it gives an example of how to add it to an image. So we could add that to our down arrow. But Julia, I know we're at time. I wish we had more. But what do you want to share with everyone as we wrap up?
So I'm very surprised that it's already 1 hour past since we started, but this has really been amazing. So the one thing I could say is that we've shared the link to the repo on the chat. So just go ahead and follow along. As you can see, there's a lot of cool stuff that you can actually do on this project. You can even customize and improve the site if you want to add more sections. I know there's instructions on how to add like an education section component if you want to have that on your site. But yeah, I would really say that this resource is super, super cool. So thanks for having this and sharing this with us on this call.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone. If you have questions or feedback of any sorts, I know Julie and I will, watch the chat as well, but feel free to come into this template repo and create issues of anything that you see or questions that's not clear, and Julie and I will be in there and we'll help take care of that for you. So
Yeah, good point. And I think just to add on that, there's a link on the chat on how you can share your feedback around this session. Is this useful content? Would you want us to do more of such sessions? So feel free to use the form that is currently on the chat to give us your feedback on that. And thanks for resharing it. But yeah, I think that's it, Sarah. This was really lovely. I can't believe it was already 1 hour past, but yeah, I think we'll plan for more of such sessions.
yes, thanks everyone for joining. And Julia, thanks for having this session with me. It's so fun to work together and so glad we got to do this project together today.
Cool. Thanks. I'm equally excited. So thanks.
Awesome. All right. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.
All right. Bye.